I started receiving messages. You know how sometimes you get a text from an unknown number that just says, "Hi." I block them, but sooner or later that same hi pops up from another number, and I block that one. Well, this started out like that, only the first message wasn't hi. It was, "We are not dead." The Horror Eternal presents We Are Not Dead. Chapter 1, They're Everywhere. Now I figured right away that someone had come up with a more clever way to get my attention than just hi, which I suppose is meant to be some kind of, come on, seductive in its simplicity, since it seems to imply an interest from the opposite sex. I mean, that's how I always read it. I don't know, maybe it's just me. But we are not dead. Well, that actually got my attention. I decided to text back and see what they'd come up with next, if they could top that one. I typed out, "Glad you're alive," thinking myself equally clever. What came back was an ongoing account of events sent by someone claiming to be from the near future. Yes, the future, that's what it says. They claim to have created some kind of technology that allows them to send messages back through space-time using our current cell phone technology as a receiver. Again, I don't know. That's just what they claim. They said these messages were a warning, an attempt to prevent or at least proactively affect the events they go on to describe, so that the horrors they have experienced might not occur, or at least we might have a fighting chance. They've stated that these messages are being sent through to as many phones as could receive them, but as far as I know, I'm the only one who's getting them. I haven't seen anyone else talking about it online or heard of anyone I know getting them. Maybe with this podcast, I might reach others who are. If you are, send me an email. Let me know. Are you receiving the same account, or are there others with their own experiences, their own warnings? I'd love to know. My texts back have never been directly responded to, so I have to assume this technology only works one way. There is no dialogue, only their accounting. And sure, maybe I've just fallen under the spell of an incredibly creative writer just looking to tell their stories. It's possible, but even if that's the case, it's a hell of a ride. The future. I guess by the text I read, we are not dead yet. We can assume that things in the future have taken a turn for the worse. Frankly, if any of the notes I'm receiving are remotely true, I'm not sure how much longer I want to be living in this world. What follows is the first series of messages I received. We are not dead. Playing along, I responded, "Glad you're alive." They continued, "But the world we knew is dead. The world you know now will soon be, unless something contained in these messages can change the things to come. This is why I am texting you. I don't know what information will be helpful, what details can prevent the coming horrors, but I am writing in hopes that you will find in this account an answer, a way to change the future, a prayer." I responded again with the same attitude, still not getting that my texts were not being received. "That's heavy," I typed. Another text. Looking back, I think the first signs came several years before what we would usually consider the beginning. I remember there were reports of loud booms and melodic sounds vibrating in the atmosphere for sustained periods of time. They weren't formally recognized. I read about them online, saw YouTube videos of people recording them, but it wasn't taken seriously by governmental authorities or scientists. There were a few mainstream stories writing them off as simple atmospheric anomalies having to do with rapid temperature changes and air pressure, or something like that. One night, I awoke to a sound, a kind of vibration, going through everything, filling the air. It was all-encompassing, but not necessarily what you would call loud. I could feel the vibration in my own body. The whole experience was eerie, haunting. I didn't get a good feeling from it, but I wasn't terrified either. I could say it was unsettlingly soothing, if that makes any sense. The sound associated with the vibration was like that of a deep, low, guttural instrument, like one of those Australian pipes called a didgeridoo. After, lots of people called them trumpets, but what I heard, felt, didn't put me in the mind of angels and trumpets, but something much darker. I found that everyone I knew had experienced the same thing that night. Everyone talked about it. They even brought it up on the news with dismissive tones, but having some more fun with this one, as it appeared to be a worldwide phenomenon. The internet was wild with theories, as you'd expect, the 7 trumpets of Revelations being by far the most popular. It's just my opinion, but looking back, I feel like that moment was when things began to change. The light was never the same after that. It was subtle, but things were dimmer. There was less color. I didn't even feel the same, like I'd lost part of myself. I was always on edge, nervous. I could never relax. It was hard to sleep. I used to think of it as we jumped timelines, like the very fabric of reality itself had been altered. It was a lot to take in. As I continued to read, I forgot about the scam angle. This was a lot of work for a simple scam. I mean, yes, it could be a more complex one, I suppose, but there weren't any direct answers to my texts and no requests for personal information. I mean, this person was saying they were from the future. How was I going to wire them money? So I didn't bother to text any more responses. I just continued to read as new texts showed up. Next came the lights in the sky. Everyone was seeing them, filming them. It began primarily in the US. YouTube, X, Facebook, all the socials were swimming in photos and videos of balls of light, orbs, odd-shaped objects lit up in various patterns of light. Some seemed to be more physical, like vehicles. Others had a more organic feel, like living fields of plasma, morphing and warping as they danced in the sky. Authorities started using the term drones, which seemed purposeful, a simple word to direct the mind away from drawing any kind of extraterrestrial or supernatural conclusions. There was a wave of these reports for a few months. Then things seemed to quiet down, and then all of a sudden they picked up again. But now they were appearing all around the globe, sometimes in massive waves by the dozens, even hundreds. Once again, the internet was buzzing with footage and eyewitness reports. They appeared in the night and in broad daylight. The sightings became so frequent that I witnessed several of them myself. Once, while on a hike in the evening, I watched as a golden ball flashed on and off, changing shapes above an energy station. Another time, I was walking up the street to grab something to eat on my lunch break, and several incredibly bright objects flashed in the sky as they flew over rapidly, a high-pitched sound wave piercing my ears in their wake. Once again, there was a lot of talk in the public spaces about drones. Who's flying them? Where do they come from? Is it another country showing off advanced technology? But having seen them myself, I can tell you, they were not conventional vehicles of any kind. People see something flying in the sky and they tend to project human qualities, human understanding onto them. But no, these were not machines or craft or even living beings of light and energy. It was no surprise to me that this was happening. Somehow, it seemed to fit the tone of this post-hum world. These were harbingers of what was to come. Signposts cast onto the collective unconscious. Shadows on the walls of the cave. And then, as quickly as they appeared, they were gone. It wasn't a gradual thing. It was abrupt. Decisive. One day, there were no more sightings, no more reports, and no more videos. What followed was a period of relative quiet, a feeling of normalcy that lasted a good 2 years. And while I never lost my deep-seated feelings that things had changed, I had nevertheless fallen back into a state of complacency, at least in regards to my life routine. And then they began to appear. One day things were normal, and the next they were there, everywhere, all over the world, as if they'd simply faded into reality. Wherever they appeared, on a sidewalk, in your kitchen, in yards, fast food restaurants, hospitals, freeways, anywhere you can imagine, they simply stood there, motionless, as if planted like trees. Thing is, they had eyes, big, black, staring eyes. It was the eyes that told us they were beings. Otherwise, it wouldn't be clear that they weren't, in fact, some kind of plant. Their heads were long and viscous on top. A slick sheen of slimy goo covered their skin like a snail's body. If you got close, you could make out flaps in the lower half of their head, under which you could see rows of tiny, sharp teeth. Their bodies appeared to be humanoid, with long arms and legs, but the extremities were wrapped in layers of some kind of fleshy material that was dark, but still translucent enough to see hints of the form underneath. Their texture was somehow both flesh-like and plant-like, fibrous in nature. Or, put more simply, freaky as hell. These things didn't speak, didn't communicate in any way, although there were many people who claimed to feel them with their emotions or their minds, but there was no way to confirm the veracity of those claims. The only thing we could be sure of was that they were watching us. And then the barrage of messages just stopped. I wasn't sure what to think, so I decided to text back. "Don't stop now. You've got me going." What happened next? I waited, but still nothing. It was already late when I started receiving them, so I decided to go to sleep. Had to get ready for work in the morning, and it was getting late. Checked the time, 3 a.m. Damn, definitely lost track of time. I shut off the light and pushed my head into the pillow, shifted once or twice, trying to find a comfortable position. Finally settled, but my eyes kept opening, looking for the next text. If you have enjoyed this program, please like, review, and share. Spread the word. Help us build an audience to change the future. The Horror Eternal presents We Are Not Dead. Written, produced, and performed by Roy Burdine. Sound design and mix by Mark Labib. The Horror Eternal and We Are Not Dead are copyright 2025 Roy Burdine. This has been a Spiral Opus audio production. Also from Spiral Opus, don't miss MINDRAKER, Background Anger, the story of a psychic assassin on a mission from God. Season 1 available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts.
Monster Forge. We make monsters.